You're listening to the Femtrepreneur Show. This is episode 19. In this episode, we're chatting with Maya Elious of MayaElious.com, and we're talking all about creating strategic content leading up to your launch and how to start building the right team. Hey guys, it's Mariah.
And I'm Megan. Maya is a branding strategist, coach, and speaker that teaches creative business owners how to create magnetic content and irresistible products that will get them noticed and paid online. When she's not helping her clients build a digital empire, she can be found binge watching Homeland on Hulu. We're so excited for you to meet Maya, so let's get started. Hi Maya, we're so excited to have you here today.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I know. Well, so we already introduced you a little bit to our audience, but if you wouldn't mind telling us in your own words a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so obviously, as you guys know, my name is Maya Elious, and basically I just help people with their content strategy. I primarily work with people that are personal brands. So these are experts, bloggers, coaches, anybody that really has something to teach. So I started out with as a personal branding strategist as far as coaching. And then I started to hone in on content creation and content strategy because I felt like creating really good content is what is that one thing that really helps people stand out in a saturated industry.
I love that. Also, guys, Maya is like one of my best and oldest business friends, which doesn't seem like that long ago. That it seems like, oh, we've been friends for 10 years, but we met in real life. Like when I first started Femtrepreneur, we met in real life and we like talked about our goals and like talked about our possibilities and I was just like, oh my gosh, I love Maya. And ever since then, I totally consider you like a mentor. And, you know, you've helped me work through so many of my own business problems that I've had and all sorts of different sticky situations that you've helped me through. So I just can't wait for everyone to meet you if they haven't already. And I can't wait to be able to like expose your brain to everyone.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm so excited. Like, I can't believe that it's only been like a little over 2 years. It was in 2014. And it's like your growth has just been like crazy. So it's like an honor that you consider me a mentor because I look up to you as well. So.
Aww. No, I feel like I'm always like, Maya, I need your help. I don't know how to deal with anything. But I mean, I just think you run such a classy business. And that's like something I'm always like, Maya, help me be more like a classy lady.
Thanks. Yeah, I love when you come to me like about emails. You're like, how do you craft it like that? Yeah, I love crafting pieces together. I think that's why I like content and copy so much.
Yeah. No, you're so good at it. There's been times where I've been like, I don't know how to respond to this email and stay civil. And you're like, this is how to say something really nice and super nice while still being firm about your position on this topic. And I'm like, you are the best. So I'm really excited to dive in today. So let's kind of get into your background and then we'll kind of speed up to what you do right now. And I have tons of questions for you about, when I think of you, right now, I just think of your amazing spreadsheets, which sounds so weird, but I'm so excited to talk about how you organize your content. Because for so long, I was one of those people that just had blog posts all over the place. I never knew what next week's blog post was going to be. I didn't have anything planned out. Like I'd only post on social media in the moment when I felt like it. It was like so disorganized. So I really am excited to talk to you about your content systems because I just think that they're brilliant. As you know, like Megan and I buy your spreadsheets and use them. So I'm really excited about that. But let's go back to the beginning. Tell us what you did before you started your business and kind of how you got into your first online business.
Okay, cool. So it's really interesting. So for those of you who are watching and listening, if you listen to Sarah Morgan's interview, it's like our beginning was just like so similar. It's so funny. I started making money online back in 2008, which just seems really crazy to say. It's like, oh my gosh, I've almost been doing this for like 10 years. Like, who am I? But I started back in 2008 and I was designing custom MySpace pages. So I had just moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, And I met a guy at the community college that I was going to, and he asked me if I knew how to create custom MySpace pages. And then he offered me $50 to make one. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to pay me to do stuff that I already spent hours doing for fun and for free. So it was like $50 when you're 18 years old is like actually a lot, especially because you don't have any bills. Like, it's just so fun. So I was designing custom MySpace pages. I had a pretty good following on MySpace, and people were paying me consistently. And because I was always like playing around with the coding, I was like, oh, I'm going to just tell people I'm a web designer, because I'm like, it's close enough, whatever. I had never designed a website in my life, but I'm like, I'm just going to tell people that. So then one day, it was probably like a year into that, I was 19, and this lady paid me like $300 or $400 to create her website. And I was like, wow, this is the most money I've gotten at one time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So then I was like, well, crap, now I actually have to figure out how to make a website because she already paid me for the website. So I went on YouTube, I figured it out, which is how I figured everything out. Like, YouTube was like where I spent all of my time. I probably spent more time on YouTube than I did in my college classes. Like, that's where I learned everything, and it was so fun. I was obsessed with learning about how to get better. And then I actually learned how to like turn it into like a consistently profitable business. Like, whereas before I was getting clients, but I didn't really know how to handle them, didn't really know how to onboard clients and stuff like that. And then I turned it into an actual business. And what that looked like was being really clear on who I wanted to serve, who my audience was, all that stuff. Like, back then, I didn't really know any of that. I didn't even know you could take business classes online back then. So I was just figuring things out as I went along. But I've always been really excited about like taking somebody's idea and then like trying to make them famous online. Like, that's what I love. That's what I did with people's MySpace pages. That's what I did when I started doing web and graphic design for people. That's what I did when I was making like party flyers for people. Like, I just wanted people to look famous online, and I was the person that was able to do that through like my graphics.
I love that. Can I also just say that I love that you started your business like you took the money without being like with just being like, I know I can figure this out. And I love that. That's exactly what I've always done, is like, yeah, sure, you can hire me to do that. Like, I now have to figure that out. But I think that attitude, like that level of like just like confidence that you can figure anything out, is something that separates people who are just constant action takers from people who are like hemming and hawing. And I think we see so many people that are like considering creating a course for like 2 years, but they don't do it, as opposed to like people like you and I that are like, well, I'm going to put a sales page up and I haven't made the course at all yet, and I'm going to start taking orders, because I think that we know that that's actually the only way to like get our butts in gear. Because like my butt doesn't get in gear if I'm just sitting there thinking about it. I have to have like something on the line, which is like, oh shit, someone gave me their money.
Right, exactly. And I was just about to say, like, that's why like we do stuff like pre-selling. It's just kind of like, I know I can create this. I just need to make sure that I'm going to be able to get the money. And like, I think a lot of people kind of have this attitude where they're like, oh, well, I'm considering doing it because they're like afraid they're going to put so much time and energy into something and nobody's going to buy. But it's like, just decide that you're going to do it and start charging people now. Like, once you have the money, then you have no reason to not create it.
Drop the mic. We're done. Just kidding. No, I think that's literally perfect. Like, that's it. Is like, you don't have any excuses once you've like said that you're going to do it and you've taken pre-sales. And that's why we're like, take pre-sales like a week after you have your idea, because then you still have time to put it together. But like, I just think that that's the attitude to have.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
So then how did you sort of transition from doing mostly, because you said that you work with clients, you were doing web design. How do you transition from, so many of our audience and our listeners are in that similar position where they're freelancing or they're trading the sort of like hours for dollars type model, and they want to create products and downloads and courses and programs. How did you make that transition? I remember when you were going through this and it was like kind of a big decision to be like, I'm saying no to all this client money. Like, how do you do that?
Oh my gosh, that was totally scary, but it was definitely necessary. The reason that I had made that decision was because my clients were getting websites and yeah, they looked good online, but they just didn't know what to do with that. Like they just had no idea what strategy was, how to be strategic. And I saw a couple of them struggling and I'm just like, oh, I really wish I could help you. And so everybody used to always want to hop on the phone with me or like set up a meeting. And I'm definitely the type of person where it's like, I don't like talking on the phone and I don't like leaving my house. So it's like, if you want that much access to me, you're going to have to pay me. Right. So it's like, if you want that much access to me beyond what you've paid me for, you're going to have to pay like an additional fee. So that's how I started first coaching. I was like, oh, let me just try this consulting thing. Again, it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know what I'm talking about. So let me just, put it on my website, see who pays me. People paid me to do one-on-one coaching. And then I was like, well, how can I like reach more people without having to be on the phone? And I'm like, I'm answering the same questions. So I started paying attention to a pattern. I was like, well, why don't you break this down into like a package? So then my coaching calls started being more routine. I wasn't as nervous anymore because I had a flow. And then I'm like, well, now how can you like turn this into maybe like a workshop or something that you can do? So that's pretty much how I made the transition from just like working with clients design wise and then teaching them how they could take this design to the next level with strategy.
That's awesome. That's such a natural flow too. It's like we talked about in the last episode that or it's not the last episode. It's just on top of my mind, I guess. But we talked about like having services before courses and how even though it's not totally necessary, like you're going to get so many good insights. And it's like you said, once you work with 20 clients and they're all asking you the same question, you're like, okay, I should just make a course about this.
It's like the long form version of sending out a survey because you're working with these people one-on-one. So instead of like, how usually we say like, how do you know a product to sell? Send out a survey, see what they're struggling with. But like you get a chance to like actually get inside their brain and see like what they're struggling with, why they're struggling with it, what's taking them so long. And once you can really understand that, you can create pretty much the perfect product for them.
I also love what you said about like, you said that you knew what you were talking about, even if you didn't really know how you were going to do. Like, even you knew what you were talking about. You knew that content in that strategy, like the back of your hand. Like, you know that you know your shit, but you didn't necessarily know how you were going to like make it into a course, make it into a coaching package. But I love that you just did it anyway. And I think that's a lesson for everyone listening is like, if you know that like you know your shit, you know your topic, you know that you've been doing it for a long time, whether it's nutrition or health or making houses or like whatever it is that you do, you know it. Even if you're like, well, I don't have any experience in the business stuff, you can still start. Like you have everything you need to get started.
Exactly. Just take your brain and package it into a product.
For sure. For sure. So what does your business look like right now? Like what is the sort of breakdown of the different, we like to talk about like the different sort of income streams or products, or like, do you still do some coaching and do you still do, what does it kind of look like in terms of like your product suite, I guess?
Yeah. So primarily, I actually make a lot of my money now from like affiliates and my smaller products. But a year ago, I was making a lot of money from masterclasses and courses, which I'll probably get back into. But like I mentioned, I was focusing first on personal branding and now I'm focusing on content. So the reason that I kind of scaled back from selling courses, which is just so profitable, to doing affiliate stuff was because I wanted to kind of like restructure my suite to fit what I wanted to be known for. Which is, again, a testimony to what content can do for your brand. Like if I want to be known for content, I need to create content and products about content. So now that I've kind of like restructured it by creating smaller products and doing interviews and doing one-on-ones about content, now I can create more courses regarding content and then start making my money like that again. But right now it's primarily like my smaller products that people love and then affiliate commission.
It all feels so natural too. That's what I really appreciate about hearing your perspective is none of it feels forced. None of it feels like you're like struggling to piece the puzzle together so quickly. Like I really appreciate that you are like, I'm taking a step back to like make my expertise clear in what I want it to be. which I think is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely not always like easy, but I just think it's so important. Like, you guys know how meaningful it is to run a business that you love, and you want to make sure you're not just pushing out products just because it makes money. Like, I think it was the episode with Sarah when we were all talking about like, wow, we created so much content in 1 year and we're just pushing stuff out.
So here's
and then
10
like,
courses.
yeah, exactly. Then I was just like, whoa, what am I selling to these people? Like, I know it's valuable, but how does this reflect me based on what I want to be known for? So I'm like, even though like getting an influx of money is always like amazing when you're like pushing out a product, but it always feels better when you feel really excited, happy, and confident about the thing that you are selling.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because you realize of the products you create every product because you're so genuinely excited about it at that time. And it's interesting to me to see like, okay, what are the products that we've been selling for 1.5 years now that have stood the test of time? And what are the products that we were selling last year that now they don't make any sense? Like, we used to sell like a MailChimp product, and it's like, we don't use that anymore. I don't like MailChimp. Like, and we used to sell like all these things that it's like, oh, those don't even make sense anymore. And it's interesting to give yourself the sort of like, looking at a year or two and seeing like what stands the test of time, and you're still excited to promote it 2 years later, or do you kind of feel like, oh, that's so irrelevant?
Right. It actually kind of almost makes me think about like people that stay in relationships just because they invested so much time, but they're not really like happy there. That's exactly what it's like. Like, I don't want to let go of this because it's been around for so long, but it's not actually really successful.
Yeah. So part of your reframing what your expertise was going to be, I think I know the answer, but you went through and like audited old blog posts and stuff, right? To like match what you want your brand to be known by. Was that hard? I feel like I've struggled before with like, I used to talk about side hustling a lot and like I totally don't. And the other week I like turned off those blog posts and I was like, ooh, this feels really scary.
We took your advice and we turned off like half of our blog posts, and I was like, oh, but then at the same time I was like, this isn't serving. Like, I used to talk about like freelancing and stuff that didn't have anything to do with now courses. So it's like, if I'm going to be known as like the person who teaches people how to launch courses, I'm not going to also be promoting like how to be a freelance writer. Like, that's not what I want to do. So I think it just like, it felt good, but it was scary.
Yeah, it's so scary. Again, it's just kind of like getting rid of the stuff that's been there since the beginning with you. But yeah, it was definitely kind of a pain having to go back through all of those posts. But then it was kind of just like, oh, well, now you have an opportunity to create like new and fresh stuff, where it's like you see you have 200 blog posts, but you're like, how many of these actually properly represent where I am now? So it is kind of scary, like, oh, this post did so well, but then you never know where somebody's going to land on your website, and you want them to land on something that's relevant.
I agree. I know, and you might find that you are attracting the wrong people. I mean, based on our email list open rates, I'm like, half the people on my list are here from content that's old that they want to learn. They're like, how do I be a freelance writer? And it's like, oh no, like I don't have anything for you. It's essentially
start an Etsy shop.
It's a dead end. And that's the thing is like, I think it's like, it doesn't matter if it's bringing you traffic or whatever, like it's a dead end ultimately, and it doesn't really help you long term. And it's like you said, like, what do you want to be beyond just like traffic and sunken cost of like your time? What do you want to be known for? And we always talk about that with signature courses is like, well, it's something you put out in the world, like that's what you're going to become known for, whether you like it or not. Hopefully you like it. And I think that's such an important part of like your content positions you, and you can't just let it be whatever.
Exactly. And I think you made such a good point with it being a dead end, because even if you have a blog post that's converting people on your list, it's not leading them somewhere if you're doing it right. So for those of you who have ever taken Mariah's like funnel class, like if you get somebody inside your funnel, like it's going to be a dead end because it's not going to lead them to anywhere or anything that they actually want to purchase.
Exactly. I love that you're like fearless, or I mean, not that you don't, like you said, it's scary to do, but like, I love that you go ahead and do it anyway. And I also think like Megan was saying, it's so brave of you to say, you know what, like I was doing this personal branding thing and now I feel really strongly about content, and it's similar, but being able to step back. And I think that's also just a testament to you having an amazing audience and the importance of having an audience, because you were able to say, look, I'm not going to launch a course for a little while, and I'm going to take the courses that I do have that are kind of about my old niche, going to take them off the market, and I'm going to spend time creating a new thing. And in the meantime, you're still able to generate income as an affiliate. And from small products, which we love your small products, you have these really cool, like, tell us what they are so that I can just gush about them.
Yeah, so probably my most popular ones right now are the spreadsheets. So the Smart Content Toolbox, which basically, actually Mariah helped me name this because I suck at naming things. I
love naming things.
Yeah, so it's like a perfect union there. But the Smart Content Toolbox is basically just like plug and play templates for you to, like, if you're creating like a blog post or an email course or an online challenge, like I have the template where you just like plug in the headline, plug in the main points that go on the landing page, plug in the host of the webinar or whatever. And so this is really good before you hire a team and as soon as you get a team, because it makes it so much easier to delegate and put things inside of Asana. So once I fill out this entire sheet, I can just like give it to my designer to like create a graphic, or I can give it to my assistant to create the landing page. And my whole point of making products like this, and I just launched a service like this too, is that I don't want people to be so distracted by the tiny details of content creation. And that's why people don't publish and connect with their audience quick enough, because they're like, what should my next blog post be about? What should the next webinar be about? What does the headline need to be? What is it that needs to go on the landing page? So I give you all of those elements and you just plug in what you're an expert at. Like if I say, okay, let's make the title of, the blog post this, what are the 3 points that you know for sure need to be covered? So that's pretty much what the Smart Content Toolbox is. And then the editorial calendar smart sheets are basically editorial calendars, the content audit Excel file, and like a template for any content that you make. So if you're making a template for like a blog post or a webinar, a masterclass, a course, you'll be able to fill out like the headline, the main points, if there's a content upgrade, what goes in the content upgrade, all of that stuff. So that helps people think about their content long term instead of just what the next piece is.
I think that's so important. And I feel like the biggest thing that you do that I am learning from slowly is like, you're not starting from zero every single time. Like you're starting with a strong foundation that makes everything built on top of it so much easier. I know for me, like for years and years, I was just like, everything was literally just like a Post-it note or like an unorganized document, not in a file, like, and not even in a folder. Just like my drive was just like, here's 500 documents of different weirdly named things that make no sense. And every time I went to go do a webinar, I would make a blank document and be like, what should I do? And it's like, so, and just being like, you never have to start from scratch. And I think that's like so powerful and important. So tell us about how, okay, so because I'm wrapping my head around this right now. One of my biggest goals for 2017 is to have 90 days of content mapped out in advance. And this happens to coincide for us a lot with like our launches happening once a quarter or doing a promotion once a quarter. So for really like 90 days leading up to that promotion, we're basically talking about that topic. And even if it's not like super blatant promotion, but it's just like leading into it naturally. So one of my big things is that I want to map out, like I want to know on January 1st, like what tweet is going out when and what Instagram post is going out, and it's already pre-planned and ready to go and the caption's already written like 90 days in advance. So how do I do this? Like, how do you think about strategic content, like planning in advance, I guess, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I definitely think 90 days is a good time frame. I definitely wouldn't extend it past that because as creatives, our ideas change all of the time. So in 90 days... That was one
of my questions, actually.
Yeah. In 90 days, not only are your ideas going to be different just because your brain is annoying and going to come up with new ideas, but you're way smarter anyway, right? Because we're always reading, we're listening to podcasts, we're actually taking action so we know what our mistakes are. Like in 90 days, you're going to have so much more growth that's not going to apply to like what your initial plan was. But within that 90-day time period, you need to know the product or products that you want to launch during that time. And you need to know how you need to be positioned online for people to trust you to buy that product. So if I'm going to be selling a course on content creation, then I need to first build my brand. So that's how I like to think of content. Like one segment is building your brand. How do you want to be known and seen? Then you need to build your list. You need to start generating some leads. And then obviously you take that time to promote the actual product so you can make money. So you build your revenue. So within that 90-day period, whatever it is that you want to sell, you start building your brand as that person that's qualified to teach this topic. And then you start figuring out what you want your lead magnet to be and start driving traffic there. You start putting out content with content upgrades. And then you actually start selling. Like now you're in like the launch process. Because how long would you guys say your launch process usually is?
Definitely we start promoting the fact that the launch is coming at least 6 weeks in advance. So just like you're saying, like 30 days to 6 weeks in advance, we're like, this is the date that the launch is going to happen. Like, this is what you can expect. And we're very like, we want to give people plenty of advance notice, especially at our price point, because people do tell us like, if we give them enough notice, then they can like make the finances work, as opposed to being like, surprise, like, here's a course.
Right. Surprise. Need $1,200. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So even if like you guys, I don't know primarily if you guys even know like what category people are in that listen, but like I can give an example of what that 90 days would look like for a specific niche if you want.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, do you have a niche that you use as an example already, or?
I just do anything.
What do you think, Megan?
I always feel like health and fitness is always like a really good niche to come up with ideas for. I feel like, and we have a large part of our audience, I feel like, is in that niche. At least a section of them. So if you're in health and fitness, listen up, because Maya's going to like tell you exactly what to do.
Right. So usually like mentally in my mind, like if I'm working with clients, you know, we start very vague, health and fitness, right? That's so vague. And my goal is to help them narrow their niche, which I have like a free workshop on. I want you to get down to like the nitty gritty of what your expertise is, because that's what's going to allow you to stand out. So if you say, oh, I'm a health and fitness expert, you're literally 1 in a trillion. But if you say I'm a health and fitness expert that works with postpartum moms who want to lose the last 15 pounds of baby fat, that's very, very specific. And not only do you want to be specific so you can like stand out and people know you for an expertise, but people search online specifically. Like usually, you know, if people want to go Google something, they're going to look for something specific to what they have going on. Weight loss for new moms. They're not going to just look for a health and fitness coach, right?
True.
So within the first, 30 days out of the 90 days of creating your content, you can be a little bit more vague because, again, you just want people to know that you are a health and fitness expert. But then you want to start getting closer and closer to that very specific niche that you narrow it down to. So you might start talking about things that have to do with new moms, why it's hard to lose weight, different in-home exercises they can do, stuff that they can do within a nap time, stuff that they can do with their baby. And again, because you're considering yourself to be an expert, obviously you would need to know about your audience, which would be a stay-at-home mom or a new mom. So you can't just know about like fitness, you need to know about the audience too. So,
and this is like an education phase, it sounds like. Bitch, by the way, like I was at the gyno the other day and there's such a thing as baby yoga. Like I saw a poster that was promoting baby yoga and it was a little baby on a yoga mat. I was like, this is amazing. And it was like, do yoga with your baby and you like make it do little things. I don't know. I thought about that and I was like, you said exercises you can do with your baby. And I was like, that's real. But I think, but I think that like what you're talking about is like educating people on the basics kind of. And when do you think people, this is something I always wonder about is, and our audience asks us about is like, when do you incorporate your backstory? Like, is that happening in the first 30 days or the second 30 days? Like that you're telling your story basically?
I definitely think within the first 30 days, and maybe like a mixture of like the first and the second, because during this time you're building your brand, right? So you want people to know you and trust you. And I'm only going to trust you based off of your experiences, which is what you would explain to me in your story. So you would, tell me things like 5 mistakes that I made when I tried to lose 10 pounds postpartum or something like that, or 3 in-home workouts that I do whatever. Like you want to, like you can include stories, techniques, tactics, strategies that have worked specifically for you. So people can be like, oh, well, Lindsay used to do this. She was really good at this and she looks great now. This is what she used to struggle with, but she looks really good now. Like I can trust her because she was once where I was. She told this story in a blog post. So that's a really good question. You definitely want to incorporate your experiences inside of your content.
It's interesting how much we're all just like looking for someone we can relate to. Like I know for me, like I could read 100 blog posts about something and they can all be the same kind of content and they can be different experts and different levels of expertise. But until I find someone that I see myself in, either see my background, I see where they came from is like part of my story too, or I just say like, wow, they're really in the same position I'm in. Like they had this same problem. I feel like I'm constantly looking, like I will just skip over tons of other qualified experts until I find the person that I can connect with on a different level than just their knowledge. You know what I mean? Like you're looking for the next level of like, but does she really, like a lot of times I'll be like, oh, but that person is like 50. Like like who's a girl who's like 25 who's dealing with what I'm dealing with? You know what I mean? Like, and you're looking constantly for someone that mirrors you and your situation.
Right. And it's funny. The reason we do that is because we feel like our situations are unique. Like it's funny because like you'll say this in webinars, like I'm not a unicorn, like I'm a real person, but we're always looking for somebody to be like, well, yeah, you've had that success, but this was my beginning. Like our stories are different. This is why you're more successful. Like we're almost looking for an excuse to count ourselves out. But when we find that person that has been through our story, we're like, dang, I can actually really do this. I can actually really lose this 15 pounds. I can actually really start this business. I can actually really learn how to cook or whatever it is that you're teaching. Like that's why people connect with our story so much. Like people usually don't buy from you because of your expertise. They buy from you because of who you are first and then because of what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's room for everybody. That's, I think, one of the big things to realize is like there's room for you because you have a unique backstory. Even if there's someone else out there that's like, I have 20 years and a PhD, like that doesn't mean that everyone is going to resonate with that person.
Exactly. I don't resonate with PhDs.
Yeah, me neither. We're both dropouts. And we turned out all the better for it. So I think I interrupted you. I know you were talking about the final 30 days of the 3 30-day sections. What are you doing in that sort of direct lead up to the launch? So
obviously you should be very clear on what your product is at that point. Yeah. You should know what the benefits are of it. During this period, I really like to talk about the mistakes that people are going to make, the myths that people are believing, because I really believe that a lot of times money is not the issue of why people don't buy. Hesitancy is. These myths, people's mindsets. So you really need to be able to speak to their mindset of why they're not buying. Like different reasons you need this product. Here's what your life is going to look like after this product. Here's all the things that you're believing that are not true. Here are all the mistakes that you're making now because you have not decided to do the things that this product is going to do for you. So those are the things that I really like to address because now you've already educated them on why this product is good and how it's helped you. And you've gotten their interest through like email and stuff. But now's the time to really speak to mindset because a lot of people's buying decisions is on if they are confident enough to actually go through this program or course that you're going to be selling to them.
That's great. I agree. It's like, I think, so we were talking to our friend Janine Duff the other day, who was talking to us about like launch sequences. And she pointed out that in my launch emails, I had focused so much on like what modules were included. And like, here's a list of all the bonuses. And like, here's a list of like 8 modules and what every lesson. And I was so focused on what you get inside. And that's not why people buy. People are not buying because it comes with 8 modules versus 10, or like because it comes with 2 extra bonuses. Like people are buying because of all this mindset stuff. And I think to come to realize that it's not about, you need to know what's included in your course, like you said, what the tangible benefits are, but to realize that when you're marketing, you're not selling all those features. You're selling something much bigger. And 90% of the your marketing isn't talking about your course. It's talking about, like you said, like just overcoming hesitations and obstacles that people have. And you have to realize that so many people just truly believe like, well, that's not going to work for me. Or whether it's nutrition or fitness or weight loss or, you know, learning a new skill or learning a language or whatever, people are just like, well, it can work for everyone in the world, but not me. And that's almost like you could spend a whole month just helping people overcome their own insecurities.
Right, exactly. Like I wrote a blog post a while ago on like how I thought I needed to be a life coach as a business coach, because we have to focus so much on people's feelings and emotions and their mindset. And I think regardless of what industry you are, you almost have to kind of have this like life coachy mindset in order to help people. Because as a coach or, you know, as a course creator, you're not necessarily there just to give them information. You're there to, you know, inspire a transformation. And the only way to really transform people is through their mindset. Like a good blog post or a good online course is not going to transform somebody if their mindset is not in that place.
Totally. We've been learning a lot about mindset lately.
Mindset has been on our mind lately.
We've totally been like just trying to figure out. I mean, so we were at this workshop, and you know that we were in LA, and we're at this workshop, and they were saying, and they just brought up this great point that, and this is Sunny Lenarduzzi and her partner Brandon, and they brought up this great point that's like we always wondered why, given the exact same course content, some of our students would like blow it out of the water and have these incredible results, and some of them wouldn't. And I was like, I wonder that too. Because like everyone gets the same modules and the same lessons. Why are some people literally like exploding with success, and some people are just like, it's okay. And they just talked about how it's all about like the mindset that you have about it. It's all about the kind of like baggage that you bring to the table. And I think that's something that we've been trying to figure out for ourselves personally and for our students, how to help them really truly, like, if you enter a launch thinking in the back of your mind that like it's gonna fail and that it's gonna be bad and that like you don't deserve it, or your course, like if you have any inkling in the back of your mind that your course isn't good enough, then like that like I can feel that in your emails. Like I can feel it when you're kind of apologizing without actually using words. Like I know that for me, I can like tell when someone is like feeling apologetic during a pitch on a webinar. Like it's tangible. Even though they're saying all the scripted words, it's like I know that something is off, and that emanates. So it's like if your mindset isn't that like that you've got this is the best content, this is going to help people so much, then like you've already failed. You know what I mean? You failed before you even started.
Right. Yeah. Because people can definitely like feel that energy, which is really crazy, but it's so true. I was like laughing while you were explaining, because I remember like when we newly had just like started our friendship or whatever, and we used to like check out other people's webinars to see what they're selling and stuff. And you could not stand when people used to talk about like manifesting stuff.
Oh my gosh, I know you're going to kill me now, because like I literally just bought a manifesting course today. Like I read a book about manifesting over the summer, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like I don't want to feel like shit every day. I want to learn these skills. Was like, no matter how much I hate the idea of this, I am willing to try anything.
I don't remember if it was a webinar you and I did together or it was just one of your webinars, but you're like, guys, this stuff actually works. This is real strategy. It's none of that manifestation bullshit. And I was cracking up so much. That's why it's even more funny now, because it's like you really used to hate that.
It's something I've really like, and it's totally one of those things that's like, I'm like embarrassed. Like I'm embarrassed myself about the fact that I'm like, it's like my guilty pleasure. I'm like, oh, I'm reading this book about like how to manifest like what I want. And like, and it's just like, and I'm just like, oh, I can't tell anyone about that. Cause like, and I do think it's true. Like, I do think that it's like, 99.9% is like the strategies, and you can do it all, because obviously I got to the point I'm at without any of this like woo-woo stuff. But it's almost like once you get there, there's so much, like this is something I've been thinking about lately, is like it is a true shock, and like it is just very I'm like the least likely person to be in the position that I'm in running a 7-figure business because I did not have any of the mindset of that. I didn't know that it was possible. I didn't think it was possible. It's completely like surprising. I'm not one of those people that's like, I always wanted to be successful as a kid. Like I just like, people will be like, ever since I was little, I knew I was bound to be great. And it's like, no, I was pretty sure I was literally going to be homeless. So like, I was just like, no, I was never like bound for greatness. I didn't have that feeling. And so I feel like I just didn't even think about the mindset stuff. But the mindset stuff that has come up in the last few months since getting past that like threshold of what people consider success has just been a complete mind fuck. Like just I'm completely unprepared for what it means to like lead a company and like deal with like being successful and like have all these other things that come up that you're just like, I had no idea. I'm so unprepared mentally. I cannot even wrap my head around it. So I think it's like one of those things that I didn't use mindset to get where I am, but now that I'm here, I need it in order to like literally be sane on a day-to-day level.
Right. Yeah. Now you can like fully enjoy all of your accomplishments and your success.
Hopefully that's what I'm working on.
I feel like that's a whole other podcast topic for
right.
another day.
You're going to have to get some manifestation expert to come on or something.
Oh my gosh. Like I'm really loving Denise Duffield Thomas.
I always know. I want to have her on the podcast.
Yeah. We totally want to have her on the podcast.
If you're listening, send us an email, Denise. We want to have you on the podcast.
If you're listening.
Gotta plug, right?
Be
you have
amazing.
To put it out there.
I know. She probably is.
Manifest it out to the world.
Oh my God. No, but I think it's so funny. I think it's so true. And just in terms of like your, like how your company and your business has changed over time, like what you think, for example, we get this all the time, and I want to talk to you about teams, Maya, in just a second. But we get this all the time where people who are starting out tell me that they never want to have a team, they never want to hire people, and they never want to have employees, that sounds too stressful or too hard, or like that was not something they wanted. And in terms of like your mind changing every single step of the way, I started out like that. I was 100% sure I never wanted to deal with people. I was like, I started my business to not have to ever talk to someone again. Like me and my boyfriend will talk to each other and that's it. And I never, like, if you had asked me, I would have just been like, no, like, that's not even something I want. And now today I can stand here and tell you it is literally like the only thing like I care about in my business is like spending time with my team and like growing this team and like nurturing the team. And like, it's the biggest joy in my life is like hanging out with Megan and Bev every day. So like, and I say that all the time, but it's so true. Like, I just wake up thinking like, I can't wait to do stuff with Megan and Bev. Like, it's going to be so fun. And I think that, if you have that, just know that like your mind will probably change. If you're sitting there being like, teams aren't for me, like I'm not going to listen to the rest of this podcast because they're going to be talking about teams. Like, just know that like you'll probably change your mind. And if it seems like it isn't relevant to you, I just want to encourage you to keep an open mind about the potential of growing a team and that it doesn't cause more stress or more, it's responsibility, but it doesn't like create more bad stuff in your life. It just makes it better. Yeah.
Honestly, if you're doing it right, it should cause less stress. Yeah. So if you have your systems in place and stuff like that, it's good. Like, my mind is always changing, but because the systems and the strategies are always going to be the same. So if I say, hey guys, I want to be a sales expert, that's what I want to focus on. The process is still going to be the same. Like, okay, for the next 30 days, let's do blog posts on this. This is how the blog post goes out. This is how we do webinars. Everything's still going to be the same. So even if your ideas are always changing, if you have a good system in place, you should be able to implement the new idea into your existing system. And then one of the things that I really love about building a solid team is that you're supposed to hire experts, so you don't have to teach your team technically what to do. Obviously, when you're starting out, you might not have the luxury of hiring an expert and you're going to have to do some training. But if you are building the right type of team, you're not going to have to worry about like micromanaging. Like, they're going to pretty much be able to help you. And it's almost like having like a mini coach on your team that can help you get to the next level. And because I have experts on my team, like, I don't have to worry about like, is this done the best way that I can possibly be? Like, I don't have to worry about being an expert in everything. I just let my team members do what it is that they're supposed to do. So, and if you plan on growing and you don't want to do everything in your business on your own, then you definitely want to hire a team. Like, you want to be able to focus on what you enjoy best, not all the little stuff just because you don't want to deal with other people.
Yeah, I was miserable before I hired Megan. Like, I was getting to a point of just absolute, you know this, like I was just getting to a point of like absolute misery and just like not, almost just gets to a point where I'm like, is this my life? Like, is my life just setting up lead pages all day, every day? Is this all? This is like for like 15 hours a day.
Yeah, I remember when Mariah and I were talking about it and like how the reasons like why we both started a team. Like, Mariah did it because she was at the point of burnout. Like, she had been in the hospital like 1,000,001 times because she just like waits until she's damn near dead till she wants to like fix her health and get some help. And then I'm the type of person where, like, for me, I hired right before I technically needed a team, where I was just like, wow, I would much rather be like watching Netflix than setting up a lead page. It's worth it to me to pay somebody to do something so I can have my freedom. Like, I would rather take a little bit less money out of like my paycheck for somebody else to do something that I don't want. And I think that's like a good level to be at, because you don't want to wait until you're burnt out and like you're frantic and you're like, holy shit, like my business is like all over the place. Now I need to figure this out before I give it to people on my team.
Yeah. I think like what you just said about in terms of like someone, okay, so you helped me overcome this mindset block that I had, because you said like, you said that you would hire someone so that you could relax and watch Netflix. And I remember you told me that and you were like, it's great. You were like, so-and-so is like setting up my webinar for tomorrow and like I'm watching a movie. And I was like, how do you feel? And I was like, don't you have guilt? Like, don't you feel like you should be working twice as many hours as they are because like you have to, it's like your company, and like, don't you feel guilty that like they're working when you're not? And like, I had all these things and I still struggle with it. I still am like totally a workaholic and think I should be working 20 hours a day. But I think that you really helped me be like, that's what they're there for. Like, that's why they wanted to work with you. And like, it's not bad for you to be like, I'm going to go watch a movie while they set up a lead page. like that shouldn't be a thing that you're like, no, oh my gosh, I should be working too. You're right. Like, if you're working, I'm working.
Right. No, I totally get it, because it's just like, oh, who do I think I am, like, not working while this person works for me? It definitely takes a while to get used to. But I do remember that time when you're like, well, Megan's working, like, I should be working. This is like when you like first brought her on. You're like, she's doing such a good job. Like, I should be doing just as much of a good job.
I feel so bad that I'm at the movies right now.
Right, like you like left somebody at home to like slave for you or something, but it's like, no, that's why you pay her bad. Like right, she's not like, your team isn't looking for you to like be a workaholic. They just want to do their job and get paid.
Well, and it goes the other way around too. Like, when Mariah's working, I'm like, oh God, I feel so guilty that I'm not working right now. Like, I'm watching Westworld and Mariah's working. It's like, what's wrong with me? I'm a terrible person.
No, but I think we all like have that, but it's a thing of just realizing that like everyone is actually doing what they want to be doing for the most part.
Right.
Barring those special situations when everyone's doing things they don't want to be doing. But I also think, so you also said something about hiring people. So this is where I think it's really important for people to understand. So when you hire someone, you're not hiring someone that has no idea. They're not just like a blob that you are training to do everything. Hopefully, if you do it right, you are hiring someone that already knows how to do the things that you want them to do. So when I hire a graphic designer, I don't say, oh, I'm going to hire this random person. They seem nice. I'm going to teach them graphic design. No, like that's a thing I think people are like, oh, I'm going to have to teach this person as if they know nothing. And it's like, you should be hiring someone that's like, I am already a ConvertKit expert, so I will help you with that. And you're not. Like, you're hiring people who already have the skill sets that you don't have. You're not. And I think people people always say like, well, things aren't going to get done the way I want them to get done. For me, it was always a thing of like, everything is getting done terribly. It's either not getting done at all or it's getting done super shitty because I'm doing it. And literally I was like, anyone else off the street doing this would be better than me doing this. Like literally anyone on the street could design this better than I could. And I think that it's like, once you get past that you're not hiring someone that you are going to be training from scratch. You're hiring someone that already knows what they're doing.
Right. Absolutely.
Otherwise you're doing it wrong. Like,
exactly. And that's what I said. Like, you don't have to be an expert in everything. Like, hire somebody that's better than you. Like, that's the entire point. You need to hire people that are smarter than you. That's how you get to the next level in business. And like, another thing that I always say, like, regarding like investments, like, if you don't have the money, then you better have the time. So if you don't have the money to hire an expert, then you're going to need to have the time to train the person how to do it exactly how you want it. And usually the best way to do that is through processes and systems. Like, what was the book that you were reading, Mariah, that
E-Myth?
The E-Myth, yeah. Basically, like, everybody should pretty much be like replaceable. Like, the system and the process is so clear that it literally, like a monkey could do it, is pretty much what he was saying inside of the book. So yeah.
Yeah, it was like, plug in any old person and they should be able to read the manual and understand how to pull it off.
Exactly. So usually, like, if your team is failing or your team sucks, it's on you because you don't have that clear system set up.
Yep, totally. We see, I mean, I've heard from people all the time. They're like, I tried hiring someone and it was the worst thing I ever did. And I just fired everyone. And it's like, whoa, like, that's not their fault. You know what I mean? Like, to be like, it's like, oh, if you hired 2 people to help you and like nothing got done and you felt like everything was like taking more time than it should have, like, that's probably not their problem. You know, like, I think it's something to be self-aware of like, you create the tone, you create the culture in your company, you create the expectations. Like, I think the fact that I'm a workaholic means that everyone knows that they should be on their game too. You know, not in an unhealthy way to my level, but just saying, like, you know, if you don't communicate with your team, they're going to have communication. They're not going to communicate back with you. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Like, one of our like good friends actually, like, I feel like she has like a new assistant all the time. And I'm like, you really need to like just get on the phone with me and let's figure out your systems, because that's obviously what it is. Like, people aren't getting stuff done because they don't have clear direction. So if your team is always failing, you need to be clear on that. And that's probably why I'm so good at like organizing everything in spreadsheets now, because I wanted to build like my design agency, but I didn't know how to properly build a team. I didn't know what I was doing. So I would get these interns that wanted to learn under me. And it was just like, it was so horrible. It was such a mess. They didn't do what I wanted, but I didn't really know how to be a leader. So once I stopped doing the design and I needed to bring people on as a blogger, I was like, I need to be very clear before I waste more time and money. So that's how I probably got really clear in like my content systems, because I'm like, they need to know for sure what I do in my business in order to like replicate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any advice for like, what was the first thing you outsourced, and what advice do you have for someone who is now like super stressed and overwhelmed and ready to bring on their first team member?
Yeah. So the first thing that I outsourced was social media, because it's like, that's almost impossible to like screw up, but it is like time consuming and tedious. So that like, and that's like one of those things where it's like, you could definitely hire an expert for any part of your business, but this person wasn't an expert, but they were very clear on how to use social media. So first I brought them on because they like wanted to be a student of mine. And then I eventually started paying them because I was like, I'd rather just pay you. So I'm making sure that the expectations are met. Because bartering can kind of be a little bit messy sometimes.
Yeah, I've never bartered, but I think that's a good thing to point out.
Yeah. So you definitely don't want to barter just for the sake of bartering. Like, that should be like a way last resort. Like, wow, I really need somebody, but I just desperately don't have the money. But it's always better to just pay so people can meet your expectations. But social media was definitely the first thing that I outsourced, because it's pretty simple. I was like, this is what I need scheduled. This is what I wanted to say. This is, you know, how often I want things posted. So again, I gave her like very clear and specific directions. Like, 8 times a day should be on Twitter, 2 times a day should be on my Facebook fan page, this many times on Pinterest. And so that was pretty simple for her to understand. And that was a pretty good relationship that we had there.
That's awesome. I always think it's interesting because in the people that we interview, everyone outsources something different first. And everyone has a different sort of opinion about like what the best thing is to get off your plate. And ultimately, it sounds like the best thing to outsource first is the thing that's like taking you a lot of time. And that could be different for each person. Like for me, it was the tech. For some people, it's like community management. For some people, it's like, oh, I outsourced like copywriting, or I outsourced, web design first because like that's not something I was good at. And I think it's interesting. It's the main thing is just like outsource the thing that is taking you a long time that you're not even that good at.
Or like the things you have to learn. I feel like that's where I'm at in my stuff is like the first person I've hired just recently is a video editor. And it's like the first person that I'm going to be consistently paying in my business is a video editor because I am smart and I could figure it out. But the amount of time it would take me to learn and to execute is just like beyond what, like it's not worth me figuring out. But I want to do it. So it's like it's not worth my time to learn that new skill.
Right. Yeah, Megan, I think you make such a good point. Like, just because you could do it doesn't mean that you should do it. Like, it's not worth your time.
Yeah. So I feel like I get that. Like, everyone kind of comes from a different place, but I think whether it's because you're not good at it or you don't want to learn something new, it's totally, totally worth it.
Yeah, like if you're already overwhelmed in your business, you don't want to add a new skill that you're like, oh, well, I know like for us, it was like Pinterest, and I like bought a Pinterest course or bought a Facebook ads course. Like we were going to do our own Facebook ads. We bought a Facebook ads course, probably about like 4 different Facebook ads courses. And we were like, okay, we're going to do this. But for us, it was like, are we really going to spend, 4 months learning and then we're still going to have to implement it? And I was like, no. So we just ended up hiring someone to do our ads, and it was like so worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I totally get that.
That's a really good point, Megan. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up, but we have some questions that we like to ask all of our guests. So I know that from the outside, it always looks like we're running our businesses and everything is so great. But what's one thing that you're struggling with right now as we're talking?
One thing I'm struggling with is, probably trying to figure out like what I want to sell as far as like a bigger product, because I've been focusing so much on the smaller products. I'm like, I don't like the process of launching. Like I like the process of creating the course. So I'm just like, do I want to launch a course? Should I just do like a masterclass? So that's something that I'm figuring out now. And like doing one-on-ones, like everybody's like, why aren't you doing something that's scalable? But I've just gotten so accustomed to like the agency lifestyle where I work with people one-on-one that I just love it. I'm like, I don't care if it's not scalable. I want to work with people. So figuring out what I want to sell course masterclass wise, and then bringing on clients one-on-one again.
You're so good at it too. Like, I feel like it's undeniable that you have a really special gift for doing that like not everyone has. You know what I mean? Like not everyone wants to stay doing that because they just aren't that good at it. But every time I talk to you, I'm just like, that this is like, you're an amazingly talented coach. Like you can just notice things in people that like other people don't even see.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love working with people one-on-one. It's just fun. I like having conversation with people. And sometimes I feel like I probably don't communicate my thoughts and my strategies and my teachings as well, maybe through a course, as I would one-on-one. Like it's just so important for me, for people to get results. And I know that they will if they work with me like one-on-one. So
that's awesome. You're going to write a book, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I should write a book. Yeah.
Let's write our books together this winter.
We should, because we've definitely been talking about that. I started and then I was like, whoa, this is way harder than I thought. And I have a lot to learn. Yeah. So
I feel like I need a book coach. Like I want someone that's going to be like, once a week, I have to send them a chapter or something.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we can just hold each other accountable. Like, Mariah, send me your chapter.
I would love that. Let's do it.
Let's do that. Okay,
done
cool.
And done. All right. So what do you think is going to be the next trend in online business or online courses, or how do you see things changing in the coming years?
Ooh, online courses is just going to continue to grow. I was listening to the radio the other day, and like Arizona State University like gives out like actual degrees, like the same degrees that people get like when they go on campus. They can get that same degree like if they take the course online. So if like big accredited universities are starting to take online seriously, then like us little people like really have an advantage, because we're not out here charging $10,000 for a course. We're charging like no more than like $2,000. So it's just only going to get bigger. Hopefully people are smart enough to be able to weed out the frauds, but it's going to get bigger and bigger. So there's definitely going to need to be more discernment.
Yeah. I got my master's completely online, and it's like a in-person college, but they were like not where I lived. So they had like a full online option. And it was like why I chose them, because I didn't have to like move anywhere, like settle for whatever was local.
Right. I'd probably have a degree if mine was online. I just hated like going to school and like parking.
Oh, I mean, I don't even use it. Like, masters of HR, you guys, don't even work in human resources.
I think those skills come in handy though. I feel like all the time I'm like, Megan, you're so smart about HR stuff.
Yeah, if we ever get to the point where you need a head of HR, Mariah, I've got the cred. I can do that.
No, I think that's true. Like, I know the design build school I went to, it was not like a college, but the design build school I went to started offering like online classes of their hands-on versions of classes this past year. And I was like, yay, you guys are doing it. Like,
I do think you're right, though. It's just going to keep getting bigger. And we talked about this in previous episodes before, where in our industry, it feels saturated and everyone has courses. But in the real world, courses are still very new. Like my friends, the phrase online course to my friends is still like, what does that really mean? Like, what does that really look like? Like, it's still something that hasn't really infiltrated everyone. Like, not everyone knows about them yet. So I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, it's still so hard to explain to people what we do, because it makes sense to us, but it's just kind of like, I just literally just say business coach, because if I try to like, oh, I'm a content strategist for content creators, they're going to be like, what? So what we do
I always
is
love saying that we have an online course about online courses, and my friends are always like, their mind is like, has been blown. Like they cannot comprehend what that means.
That's so funny.
so what is the thing you're most excited about in the coming year of projects that you are working on, and anything that you want us to know about?
All right. What am I most excited about? I think I'm most excited about starting maybe to like work with people more so one-on-one, probably doing like speaking and training. Like now that I'm very clear on what it is that I want to offer, now I can like expand that product suite into like speaking and training. Like I would love to work with like startup companies. Like if I could work with companies like ConvertKit, Entreport, Teachable, Zapier, Lead Pages, like in their beginning stages and they need help with their content, like that would be awesome to like be able to train those companies and prepare them to build their content marketing team. So I don't know, I'm going to maybe see if I can like tap into that. I think that would be really fun and cool.
That'd be awesome. And they need it. Like, I think that's one of the things. I mean, if you're running a tech company and you're a startup, you're so focused on like the product and the stuff going on behind the scenes and the marketing, you're trying to get users, but like you're not utilizing content marketing. I know like with the companies we've worked with, starting their like company blog was like an afterthought, 2 years after they'd already been a company. They're like, we're going to start putting out content or a podcast or something. And it's so smart.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I need to definitely think about how I can like angle that and get those clients. I think it would just be so fun.
That'll be awesome. All right. So where can our listeners find you online on social media? And I know that you have a freebie for them as well.
Yes. All right. So you guys can find me at mayaelious.com. All of my social media is Maya Elious. And I have a freebie called the Content Strategy Starter Pack, and it's pretty much everything that you need in order to start your content marketing efforts online. So I have the Narrow Your Niche workbook, which I referenced earlier. I have the outline that I have in one of my products for you guys to be able to outline your blog posts, and just a lot of really good stuff on there, stuff for you to be able to build your email list. So you can get that at mayaelious.com/thefemshow.
I just downloaded that this morning. I was like, ooh, this is so good. It's like, I'm gonna use this.
Awesome. Yeah.
We're so excited. We're gonna, we're gonna sort of base all of our plans on your spreadsheets for the coming year. And it's really helping me wrap my head around like, okay, Mariah, like you can't just come up with your content ideas the day before or just the day of, as it is now. So we're really working on it, and I'm really excited. And I want to thank you so much for coming on here and spending some time with us and sharing your amazing brain with us.
Thank you guys so much. This was so fun.
So now we'd love to hear from you. What content strategy tips do you have? Leave your best tips in the comments below. I think we'd all love to hear them. And don't forget to download Maya's free content strategy starter pack. You can find the link below this video.
And if this video was helpful for you, be sure to subscribe, share with your friends, and hit the like button. And if you want to discuss this video with us and our awesome, amazing community of ambitious online entrepreneurs, make sure to join our free Facebook group at thefemshow.com/community. We'll see you in the next episode.